Hey everyone, I'm Tsunami. Welcome to my new video. I filled up my beloved A4 sketchbook from Talents. It's the art creation mixed media sketchbook and I really loved it and I had it a long time now. It has 80 pages, look at this, it's really thick and I enjoyed working in it a lot. I'm quite happy it's full now. It took a while, but I'm also looking forward to start a new one. So the only thing we haven't done yet is a sketchbook tour. So lean back, relax, and enjoy the tour.
This cute unicorn was gifted to me by my daughter. It makes me smile all the time I look at this book. In this video, I will make the tour through this sketchbook and I will tell you something about the spreads and the artworks in there. And in the end, I will make a faster flip through only with a bit of music. I will blend you in the minute where you can find it if you prefer this kind of sketchbook tour. You can jump here. I started the sketchbook on December 21 long ago, but after the first spread I didn't like to work in this book for a long time. I think I used it here and there. Then I started again in October 22 for Inktober 22 and then it took me a bit more than a year to finish it.
This first page, it's glued together, it's empty. This was my Christmas video in December 21. I wanted to try this mixed media sketchbook with different mediums, like we have watercolor and watercolor pencils, pencils with a bit of colored pencils, and I used acrylic paint on this one, and the result was very good. For a reason, I didn't like the sketchbook a lot after I made this page and I forced me to use it again, but I wasn't very happy with it. I don't know why. Now I love the art creation sketchbooks. Then here is 3rd July 22. You see, this was a big jump. I tried to use it again with watercolor markers. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't happy with it. And here is a swatching page. I started to swatch all the mediums here, which I wanted to use for Inktober, probably before I sketch portraits of a series I watched. Perhaps you know which series this is. The portraits are not perfect, but perhaps you see or you can guess which series this is. Then Inktober 22. There I started the sketchbook again and I learned to love it because it's such an awesome sketchbook. First I wanted to make the normal prompt list from Inktober, the official list, but then I found this very cool prompt list where you can build a little story and where you don't have to paint or draw every day. There are only 11 prompts, so this was much easier for me. And there Pio comes to life. Pio likes bugs, Pio likes birds and can do a little bit of magic and has a lot of friends in the forest. But there's one part of the forest where Pio have never been before, and that's the story. Pio went on this path, mysterious path. As Pio stepped into this one part of the forest, the sun was about to sink behind the trees. The soft and cozy darkness crawled over all the moss and the trunks slowly. And then, almost out of the blue, beautiful little lights appeared. One of them took a seat on Pio's hand for a moment. As it flew away, Pio recognized a small path. This is how Pio's adventure started. As the path ended, Pew stood before a booming river. It was magical. Water spirits began to sing when they saw Pew. Every spirit had its own voice, and together it was a soft melody which flowed over the river. Pew also started to sing its own note. Pew stayed a while and sang together with the spirits. Here I used gouache and watercolor gouache and colored pencils for this one, and some markers, and here I decided to only use watercolors, colored pencils and markers for my journey through the Inktober. Pew walked along the river until it got to a glimmering glade. Mushrooms grew all over the place. Pew walked through this magical meadow and thousands of spores came out. They tickled in Pew's nose. It was so beautiful, like if it's falling warm and glowing snow. Strange reflections. Pew followed its heart through the forest. Sometimes it closed the eyes and just listened to the sounds around. Little by little the forest changed. The trees got more and more large, and in the middle there was the most gigantic tree Pew had ever seen before. On its trunk there was a mirror and Pew looked at itself. Then Mirror Pew smiled, and in its hand a red, glowing and pulsating stone appeared. Pew heard a voice in its head which said, "Go to the queen and bring her back her heart." Before Pew could ask anything, the stone was in its hand and the magic of the mirror was gone. Spirit Guide. Pew walked like in trance in a random direction. Pew thought, "It's too much. How can I find someone I don't know?" Overwhelmed and sad, Pew sat down into fluffy moss and started to cry. Then suddenly, out of the stone, it appeared a red light. It hovered in front of Pew, and there was again this voice which said, "Don't cry, little Pew. I know someone who can help. Let's do this together." They came to a place where someone placed signs for dead rats. Around them, skulls looked out of the moss. What a scary decoration! Pew stopped and didn't want to go further, but the spirit assured that they are on the right way, so they went on this path. Who placed the signs and skulls there? What will be at the end of this path? Pew thought. Witch's Cottage. As the path ended, there was a little cottage on the middle of the forest. It looked lovely and friendly. The wind blew over the weeds and boscages. The eyes of the owl on the roof followed them as they came closer. This was a big contrast to the signs and skulls, but Pew wasn't scared anymore and knocked at the door. First it opened only a tiny bit, then after they were checked, a young witch opened the door wide and smiled. "Please come in," she said. So the signs were because of the tailed tourists which came in the forest these days. So she wanted to have a little bit peace and freedom. Night Wings. Pew taught the witch about the quest, about its magical companion and how they came to her hut. The little witch smiled. She whistled sharply, then the big fluffy owl flew through the window and landed beside her. "This is Archibald. He will take you wherever you want." Archibald hooted in approval. So Pew and Archibald flew over the forest. Looming Castle. The forest lay far below them as they flew through the night. In the lead, Pew's spirit companion. Out of the darkness gradually appeared a castle. The closer they came, the larger it loomed in the night sky. Archibald set Pio down in front of this huge building, hooted goodbye, and took to the sky again. The castle was old and looked a little threatening, but the little spirit said, "We are almost there, come on." Cautiously, Pio entered the castle. Woo-hoo. The deeper Pio got into the castle, the more the stone beated in its hand. The spirit companion dissolved more and more. At last, Pio arrived in a huge throne room, and on the throne sat her, the queen. She was like chaos. Her hair blowed wildly in all directions, although there was no breeze. In her chest, a heavy hole. She looked at Pio seriously and spoke in a loud, firm voice. "What do you want here, intruder?" Pio held the stone high in the air for her to see and slowly continued walking towards her. Her expression changed slowly. She rose and descended from her throne. Pio was afraid, closed its eyes, and stretched out her heart. Carefully, she took it from Pio and looked at it with joy. Then she began to spin and dance. Was there a soft music to be heard? As she floated down the hall, her appearance changed. With her heart pressed tightly against her, all chaos seemed to fall away from her, and when her dance was over, she turned to Pio. Her face was full of gratitude. "I thank you from my heart," she said. "I would never have dared to dream that I would ever get my heart back. Once it was taken from me by an evil magician, whom I did not want as my king. Since then, I have been waiting for my redemption." She gave Pio a kiss on the forehead and dissolved into thousands of glittering dust particles. Then she was gone. This was Inktober 22. Then I made a few sketches on these pages, and I have to say, from this time on, I did this a lot little like thumbnails, idea thumbnails. This is a treasure to have a sketchbook with these. If you don't know what to draw, you can go back and find an idea in your sketchbook. This one I painted, I think, also in a video, and this one I also painted in a video. You can see it later in my sketchbook. Then another little spirits, and this one was the first time I worked with alcohol marker in my sketchbook, and it bleeded through, of course, and then I decided to not use it again anymore in the sketchbook. I don't know, perhaps I will do it in my new sketchbook again. And then because it bleeded through, I used acrylic paint on this page and acrylic markers, and I filled this background with gouache and went on top with colored pencils. This is really cute, I think. This was a cozy day, and we went on a walk, and on the trees there were only the fruits left and all the leaves were gone. Here I made a few watercolor backgrounds and go on top, and used markers on top, black markers. There are a few swatches, and here I watched a video from, I don't know her name, I will blend her in, and she had a sketchbook idea for an underground home, and I painted it for little Pios who live there. This was a fun day. This is gouache and colored pencils on top. I like this really a lot. This is also gouache and colored pencils on top, and here you can see this is this idea here. This also was a video. Oh, this also was a video where I painted 3 spreads in 3 different sketchbooks. A sentence of a song I like. And then this was Christmas 22. And I sketched a bit. I took the sketchbook with me and it was fun to sketch every day in my Christmas holidays. This also a little bit more fantastic. I really like this style and I used watercolor backgrounds and then colored pencils on top to work out what I'm seeing here. Oh, here I had the Viviva colors. I had them new. So there was this little testing palette inside and I had this with me to test out these colors. Then I swatched them and here these colors I used on this cat here and the other ones on this leaf page and on top with colored pencils. This, I really like this spread and I also like the Viviva watercolors. This also was a watercolor background and I bought felt markers, I think, on an art supply shop in my holidays and then I used them to sketch out what I'm seeing here. And these are, I think, tree mushrooms, kind of, I don't know. And here back home, I swatched all my new felt markers. I used them a lot in my sketchbook from this time on. And I had this idea in my head. I had to sketch this idea. And I wanted to draw a skull. I used colored pencils, only colored pencils on this page. And here, this was also a video. I tested the Viviva color sheet. I think the spring colors I had there. And I really like this spread. This is one of my favorite spreads in the sketchbook. This is a bit weird perhaps and a bit chaotic. On this page I used aqua markers and I used colored pencils and some markers here, white marker. And here I wanted to test out my new Carantage Neocolor tools. I used them on this spread and a bit of marker or colored pencil on top. No colored pencil. Yeah, colored pencil and marker on top. I wanted to know what I can do with them before I made a video about them. A few portraits. I think I used aqua markers and watercolor pencils. A little bird with gouache. I had a rest of dried gouache in a palette and I used them for this spread. I got this chalk pencils in the upgrade box and I painted this. I used this paper to test out the white and the black chalk pencils, and then I liked it so much I didn't want to throw it away and I glued it in and worked around it with watercolor and colored pencils. And here I discovered for me if I have no time I can make a lot of little backgrounds in my sketchbook, and if I have time I come back and draw on one and finish one of them or two. That depends on how much time I have. And I shared this on Instagram and I asked you what could it say, and two of you made a suggestion and I glued it in. I really like the idea of these little paintings, so you have a lot. This is a collection of all your ideas and you can come back, and if you don't know what to draw, these little pictures can inspire you a lot. So I started to do this more and more. This one is also a very nice spread. I like the colors. I used watercolor in the background and then colored pencils on top. Sometimes markers. Later you can see this. This is a nice technique if you don't have a lot of time. I think this was a video I shared this with you. If you don't have a lot of time, how you can be creative all the time and work in your sketchbook. I will link you this video. It's a good one. And here I think I used the Derwent graphite tint in the background, and there the colored pencils didn't work on the graphite tint, as you can see here. So I decided to use marker in the foreground. Also, only I had to paint on this day. I use my sketchbook for fun, and if my head is too full, I can relax. This one was also a video, my first and last real-time painting video. You didn't like this so much to watch, perhaps it's too long, but if you would like to watch it, I will link it in my description for you, so you can. I think it took me 1 hour and 40, perhaps 1 hour and 40 minutes to paint these, and I really like them. I used gouache and colored pencils on top. Here I used my Kuretake Art Nouveau set. I tried to mix the colors and use them for portraits. And here, this was also a video against art block, I think, and the message was to do something and to use supplies you never use and to paint what you never paint. And so I painted 2 landscapes. This was very fun. I should do this more often. I only wanted to work with colors, if you can see this. No black and white, and after this I enjoyed it a lot, so after this I use more black and white. And this one was only, I wanted to play around with my Art Nouveau set from Kuretake again, and I just made some weeds and stuff and cute little plant creatures. Here I was very sick. I think I had corona, and I haven't painted for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks. There was a big break. With this spread I found back to my work. So here these are not good, but here it's better, and it would better and better. And the last one here is the best. I really like this, and I want to paint this. I paint this as an artwork someday, this idea. And this also I wanted to paint, but I didn't know what, and I still was very sick. So I just scribbled around out of my brain what I thought what would be cool. And then I sketched hands from 2 to until 5 minutes. This also is watercolor and colored pencils. And then I made a few speech bubbles in here. And this was the beginning of my speech bubbles in my illustrations, because I liked it so much. Here, for example, this page is very nice. This was, oh, what was this? Perhaps I got new colors and I swatched them on a watercolor paper, and then I decided to make little pictures on the backgrounds here after that, and then I didn't want to throw it away, so I glued it in my sketchbook. It's better to have them all in my sketchbook as all the little pieces of paper flying around. And then I was very happy because spring came, and I love spring. Spring is my favorite season of the year. And that's why I painted this. Perhaps this also was a video, and so you can see I used a lot of the speech bubbles here, and I really like this spread. I love this spread. Also with, I think I used these colors. This is quinacridone red, light, transparent green gold, and oh, I don't know. I think it's Prussian green from Schminke Rotterdam. And I like this in combination a lot. And this was also a spread like this. As you can see, I really was in my spring theme. So again, wake up, it's time. And the little seeds are still sleeping. I can't wait to bloom. And then they grow, and then they bloom. Come here and try our sweet gift. Bzz, here are the bees. We need you. And they are happy. Again, a spread like this. It's a bit chaotic because I painted only one, on another day another one. I don't had enough time for the whole spread in one run. I think this also was a video, and here the background were these lipstick crayons I love to use from Système Grene, and on top I used Neocolor 2 and markers. This one was from the tutorial video where I showed you how to use aqua markers. I can also link you this video, and then I had this swatching page. This is a good paper. This is the Expression watercolor paper from Hanemühle, 100% cotton. And there I had a bit of leftover acrylic paint for another project, and always if I have leftovers like acrylic paints or gouache paints, okay, gouache you can reactivate, but if I have leftover paints, the most time I use them in my sketchbook to make backgrounds, so I don't waste them. And I bought, on this day I bought a new marker. I think this was it. It's really cool, the postcards with this tiny tip. I really like them for details, and yeah, I drew with this marker on top of the acrylic background. Oh, this one was also a video where I tested the Daniel Smith transparent watercolor ground with aqua markers. I like the spread. This I tried to find a style for female faces because I wanted to combine them with my cuties. So this is also a bit weird page, but I think is this also the watercolor ground? I'm not sure. This is only watercolor, aqua marker, and colored pen and markers on top. Oh, this was one day of the 100 days challenge, day 4, and I made 2 self-portraits on this day. This one with these colors of the Art Nouveau set from Kuretake, and here I used my neon watercolors from Paul Rubens. This was a bit of swatching. I had a new color. I bought Mars Black, and I mixed these colors with Mars Black, and this is the result. And then I made little backgrounds, and days later I drew on them with colored pencils. And here, this was the upgrade 47. This was not my favorite one. and these pages flew around in my office, so I decided to glue them in my sketchbook. I can remember what I did, and yeah, I don't have to throw them away because I don't like them so much, but I wanted to remember what I did. Oh, this page was the swatching page of my video where I showed you my favorite art supplies. I also can link this video in the description. And here I swatched with Core watercolors. This is from my Core watercolor video, and I glued the sketches in. Also, I didn't want to throw it away like this one. This was my sketch for the upgrade. I don't know, the upgrade where Be Bold. Perhaps you remember the Be Bold upgrade. So I glued it in that I can remember what I did here, and I like these tiny sketches. This one was the Stabilo Woody video where I tried them. Here I swatched them. Oh, I have really dirty hands now because of the pages, and I enjoyed it a lot. The Stabilo Woodies are really cool. Also a video I made for you. I can list all the videos from this sketchbook in my description for you. This also was Stabilo Woodies, and this one was, I had leftovers from the acrylic paints I got in an upgrade box and used the material of the upgrade box for this page. This one was, I had my new gouache set from Carandache, gouache and pens, and I really love this gouache set. I use them all the time now. And I was at a friend's place and we paint together here and there, and I painted this one and I really like it. And this heart I painted another day. I want to make an acrylic painting with this idea and take a heart and put the heart here instead of the spirit, and everything is grown from the heart, out of the heart. I don't know yet how it will be in the end. This was my Carandache gouache and pens review video. This is also gouache, and after the video I forgot to use colored pencils after this, and I used them with colored pencils after the video to finish it. Yeah, just a sketch. This was also a video, also with my beloved new Carandache gouache to this time, and I painted a few birdies, a white raven, this nice tit, and perhaps it's a hummingbird. Then I used watercolor to only paint the shapes, and then black ink to draw around. This was fun. On this day I made something for a friend. I used my crayons, lipstick crayons in the background and markers in the foreground. Here I swatched a few of my watercolor pencils, a palette which I chose with a lot of my blues and greens, as you can see, my favorite ones, and painted a little background and used a marker on top. Oh, this one was a very nice page. I was in the library and lent a few books, and books from plant books and bug books and I used them for reference. This one I also were at a friend's place and we painted together, and I used lipstick crayons in the background and marker on top, and Neocolor too. I also used Neocolor 2 on top. A little idea sketch, and I really like this. This was a video. I don't like this spread so much. I don't know. Mostly the things I'm painting without cam are much more better than with cam sometimes. Okay, perhaps not every time, but yeah. This was, I think, a gouache and colored pencils. On this day I painted with watercolors and colored pencils. This was my palette. Oh, this spread, I like this spread a lot. Here I used watercolors in the background. I think this was these were the core watercolors in the background, and the Pit ink pens from Faber-Castell on top, and also colored pencils. And here I used the leftovers in the little packages from the Roman small watercolors for the backgrounds, and I used also the Pit ink pens and colored pencils and a few markers on top. Here, I really like the pattern here. And here the last spread from the 100-day challenge. I used watercolor, Karen markers, other acrylic marker and felt markers on top. Here I used watercolor and colored pencils, and yeah, on top. And this was the end of the 100-day project, and I was very proud of myself. Here, this was the swatching and review. No, this was the art haul video from Jackson's, and I tried my new paints a bit. These are from Roman Small, and these are the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks. But I haven't painted on these backgrounds yet. That's what I recognize, but yeah. And here I painted, I don't know which watercolors these are. I'm not sure which watercolors, because I painted here the backgrounds, and I really like this guy. This is a really cute one, and a few sketches. Oh, on this day I had this sketch on an extra paper. I made a sketch and I really liked the sketch, and I glued it in, and then I used Distress ink here, and I used colored pencils, only colored pencils. Then also for the fish, only colored pencils. Oh, I like this spread. And here I wanted to swatch my watercolors. These ones are my Schminke palette, my every time go-to Schminke palette. These are the granulating ones. Here also a palette from Schminke I have. And these are the Core Earth Set watercolors. I really love them. And here are the Roman Small, and I really like the Roman Small. More and more, I have to say. Oh, here are some sketches. I sketched a few little characters for a kindergarten group from a friend's child. And this is the end, the last spreads of my beloved sketchbook. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. I will link it in my description, and perhaps I can link it here as well, so you can find it. Yeah, they say goodbye. This is the end of my sketchbook. It ended on December the 6th, 2023. So this was it. This is my sketchbook. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also click on the little bell to be informed about new videos. Thank you so much for your support. Now I will flip through this whole sketchbook again without talking and only with music. Perhaps you want to watch it again. So have an awesome day, my friends. See you next time. Yours, Tsunami.